Hi everybody, today's date is August 31st, 2012. It's the last day of August and summer is almost over. This is the weekend of Labor Day and a lot of people are going out and celebrating. A lot of people will be on the beach and so I hope you all enjoy yourself and whatever you do this weekend. Today I thought I'd do my video. This gave me an idea online about epilepsy, a subject that's near and dear to my heart. It's a very difficult thing to talk about. A lot of people, when you start talking about epilepsy, they kind of roll their eyes or their attention will go away because it's difficult to hear. But anyway, this is the story of my life and my life with my youngest son who has epilepsy. Yeah. Robert was born and he was a normal child. He still is a normal child, but he was growing. He was making his growth spurts and everything at the normal pace. He started to walk when he was about 13 or 14 months old. He talked. Everything was going as smooth as possibly can until he reached 2.5 years of age. At 2.5 years of age, he experienced his first seizure. And when he had the seizure, I didn't really even realize what was going on. We were sitting in church, and he was sitting on my husband's lap, and it happened, and my husband turned to me and said to me, "I think Robert just had a seizure." And I said, I couldn't believe what was going on. So we took him home, and the next day I do believe he had another seizure, and I got to see that firsthand, and I knew that wasn't normal. So we called up the pediatrician and took him there, and that's what began our journey. He told us that that all the symptoms and the signs that we received were definitely one of epilepsy, and that the next course of action would be to take him to a neurologist. So we bundled Robert up and took him to St. Christopher's Hospital in Philadelphia, and we saw this neurologist. He was I can't even begin to tell you. I think he was in his 60s or 70s. He was an older gentleman. And we took Robert into his office, and we put Robert down on the floor, and the neurologist, threw a ball at him and did a few tests on him and turned to us and said, "Yes, your child has epilepsy, and he's also pervasively developmentally delayed, and this is what you're going to live with for the rest of your life and for the rest of his life." And it was shocking. I remember driving home from that hospital, and it felt like the whole floor was opened up and we fell into this big giant hole. And it was a moment that I'll never forget, because it was a shocking realization. And but so we went and we put Robert on a regimen of medicine, and we had to enroll him in an early intervention program, which he did. And then, from early intervention, he went into a regular grade school setting, and from grade school, middle school. But what happened is his physical condition deteriorated over time, and the seizures never really ceased. The medicine somewhat controlled the seizures, but the seizures still came. Robert has grand mal seizures, and they're pretty intense. They're the type of seizures that you see on the TV, and what you see is generally what it is. And I don't know what else to tell you as far as that's concerned. But anyway, Robert's condition deteriorated over time. When he got into middle school, we noticed that his walking deteriorated and he was having a hard time getting around. We ended up getting him a rolling chair, and from the rolling chair, we would get him back and forth to different places, to the doctors, to the, when we would go out to school. He would use it in school, first just for community outings, and then as his walking deteriorated, he needed it to get in and out of the classroom. By the end of his middle school schooling, he ended up missing more days than he was present, and we realized that he just was not capable of waking up every day and getting him ready over to school and having a full and productive day in school, and then bringing him home, and then the process would start all over again. So our next big adventure was to get him instructions in the home, and that took a lot of work, and a lot of pain went through that, because the school, when we weren't bringing him to school, the school reported Robert for truancy, and I ended up in truancy court, which the judge, she took one look at me and heard the circumstances and laughed and dismissed me. And then the school reported us to DHS, and a social worker had to come for 6 months to check on Robert's progress. There again, the social worker laughed when he entered our home and realized that there was nothing going on, that this was just, we were just doing the best that we could with Robert, and making him as comfortable as we could in our home. So 6 months, of weekly checkups until they finally dismissed the case, and we knew we were on the right track. And then the school relented, and they ended up sending us teachers that would come twice a week for about an hour and a half a day, and they would instruct Robert in our home. And that lasted for about 3 years, until the school decided to pull a fast one on us and said that we had two choices, that they were no longer going to provide homebound services in our home, that we either had to A, graduate Robert early, or B, put him back in a regular classroom environment. That was a shocker, and I decided that, his family decided that those two choices weren't good enough for us, that we wouldn't graduate him early, not when he was entitled to receive schooling until he was 21 years old, and two, how could we put Robert back into a classroom environment when they couldn't provide adequate seating for him? He was constantly on the floor. The floor had to be well padded because of his unpredictability of his seizures, and the classroom just wasn't an environment that he could be safe and comfortable in anymore. So the school took the very adamant stand on that, and for a whole year Robert didn't receive any educational services at all. I then had to seek legal advice, and I also had to get an advocate for Robert. We finally went to the school on his annual IEP meetings. IEP is an individual educational program, and we went to his IEP meeting, Rob's father and I and his advocate, and they then decided, well, we're going to provide instructions in the home for him. So for the last 2 years, he's received instructions in the home. And unfortunately, at the end of the school year, he graduated, and another problem that we had along the way is they were supposed to be giving him speech therapy, and they didn't do that for 2 years. He didn't have any speech therapy at all. So their compromise was to offer extended school year at the end of the school year, which he received, and he received 12 hours of speech therapy. The blessing in that was he received excellent care from both his teacher and his speech therapist. His speech therapist was absolutely wonderful. And so they did an intense educational service for him this summer, and it's ended now. And so now we're on to next road. Right now I'm hoping to seek therapies for Robert, hopefully occupational therapy, recreational therapy. I would love somebody to come in and do some music therapy with him. And just get somebody to come in to visit him, to play a game with him, to read a story, anything to get him socially active. Unfortunately, Robert right now is homebound. He's basically in the confines of his bedroom. We have the bedroom set up so that he's most comfortable there. He eats his dinner there. He eats his meals there. He does everything there, and we try to provide entertainment for him in the best ways we can. He has a TV. He has an iPad. He has a boom box for so they can listen to music, and he watches some videos, and that's what we do with him every day. Today's a difficult day because I woke up around 6:30 to the sound of Robert having a seizure again, and about 45 minutes later he had another seizure. So right now he's still in bed. He's taking a nap. I just checked on him. He did eat something. I got him to eat, and I gave him his medicine, and right now he's taking a nap. So I decided that I would sit down and do this video, and just try to be off the cuff and honest about what we go through and what Robert goes through every day and our experiences with epilepsy. Robert not only has epilepsy, but he has he's developmentally delayed, as I told you before. Developmentally delayed falls into the autism spectrum. So Robert shares the same a lot of similar characteristics as autistic children does. The only difference is Robert is extremely is higher verbal than some autistic children, and then I know that that varies from one child to the next. But Robert can speak. He can speak well enough to get his needs met.